So with every Toothpod, hopefully this will be the case, with every like 5 Toothpods bought, one goes to, you send one to somebody who doesn't have clean water. And so it's a really creating a culture of let's help people around us. And not only that, I wanted to create a company and not a product. And the company itself would have that education sector where, you would go out into countries that don't actually have clean oral, like good oral hygiene, and you would, educate them on how to use their surroundings and the materials and ingredients they have that are natural, that are able to clean their teeth.
Hey, Vishar, thank you for coming on the podcast. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I mean, always glad to have a fellow UFT student on the show. Well, I'm an alum, but yeah, you were another Lions Lair candidate going through Innovation Factory. You just told me before we started you had your pitch yesterday. How do you feel?
It was good. Honestly, I feel great. I think we went in, did a recording. It was definitely nice to be in person again. Social distance, but it was still physically nice to be able to present the company and not on Zoom. It was great.
Yeah. So the Lions Lair, it's like a tournament style pitch battle.
Yeah.
All right. And so you're from the medical side. Are any of the companies, medical companies, like how's that competition bracket looking for you?
Honestly, so the teams are like, they have a different variety of teams where some are in different stages, some are completely technology, some are, related to cooking, it's just various different companies. And so there are a few that are in the health sector. I don't think any of them are a medical device, not that I know of. We don't really get to like meet the teams in person either, or like see all of them present, just because there's so many that they're divided into. But from what I've seen so far, it's not, they seem to be on very different, ends of the spectrum to what they want to achieve and what they want to do.
Yeah. So, let's dive into in your company, QUIX. So you're trying to solve oral hygiene, which is very important. Let's dive into that. What got you to start QUIX?
I had an idea 4 years ago, I think, and I was just sitting at I was at University of Toronto volunteering at an accelerator session by one of their incubators. And I was actually just volunteering at it. And so someone came up to me and was like, someone didn't show up. Do you want to like participate in this accelerator? And I was like, well, like, I don't know, like I have a party to go to, like, I don't know. Anyways, I ended up actually participating, thankfully. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up actually winning $1,000 from that. And so that was where the idea was stemming from, where I was sitting down in a room being like, what kind of world problems do I want to solve today? Mm-hmm. And poverty was number one, but I couldn't get to that one in 24 hours. So second best was, one of the most preventable diseases, which is dental decay. And so to me, that was insane, because I was like, I can actually do something about something that's, preventable. It's not impossible to do. It is doable in my capabilities. And so that's when we decided to, it was me and like a couple of other people being like, how can we solve this problem? And it's like, what if it's like something in your mouth that like pops and cleans your whole mouth? And that's kind of where the idea sparked. And then I took it to the incubators, then continued it. Here we are today.
That's a very different story than what we generally hear here.
Yeah.
What was the accelerator program that you got involved with?
It was UFT Hatchery Entrepreneurship. We're actually still a part of that program, and they've supported us very well throughout our journey.
That's pretty cool, because like there's nothing like winning money that makes you feel like, okay, this idea has legs. Let's work on it. Yeah. So let's talk about this thing that pops in your mouth and cleans your teeth. How does it work?
So essentially, QUIX itself is a company that strives to, ensure everyone has a clean mouth everywhere, anywhere they are at any time. And so it, does that by creating a line of different products that actually are able to clean your teeth. And the product number one is called Toothpods. It's a toothpod that, is able to clean your mouth and, help prevent cavities. In a sense that it is able to scrub away the bacteria on your teeth and remineralize your teeth. And so when you don't have, when you're on the go, when you're in an airplane, or, when you just don't have time to brush your teeth, when you're tired, Toothpod is there to be an alternative to clean your mouth, and really, give you that feel good sensation of, okay, I have a clean mouth now. I'm ready to do and, conquer the day. That's kind of the goal of what Toothpod is and what it is.
I love that. I mean, dental hygiene is so important because a lot of people, too many people, ignore that, and we suffer the consequence. So, is this like a gum or something that you put in your mouth? Describe the actual item for us.
So it's a chewable. It's a natural chewable that you chew in your mouth. That's the first line of product, and I wouldn't call it a gum. I would call it a smart chewable just because of the nature of what it is and the value that it brings. But yeah, it's very similar to that chewing and like that texture that you feel in your mouth. That's kind of what it looks like and what it feels. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of reminded, and I don't want to make the analogy here, but of the chewables meant for like dogs, right? Like for pets. That's one of the greatest ways to get them to have clean teeth and reduce odor. Was it an idea that inspired from there, or was it like any kind of a connection there?
Definitely. The story I told you about how it was inspired, that's exactly how it was inspired. It was like us sitting in a chair being like, yo, what if? But we were also put in that environment, to be able to think about that idea. It wasn't like we were just sitting around and it came to us. It was like we were actively thinking about ways to solve different problems. And that definitely did come afterwards where someone was like, I would use that for my cat. And I'm like, wait a second. But, that already exists within the market. But the act of chewing itself is actually very good for you because it's able to, create the action of the action itself is able to improve your oral hygiene as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're currently still a student. You're still a student at UFT. What are your undergrad again? What do you?
I double major in health studies and global health, and I minor in psychology.
Perfect. So, while you're pursuing your undergrad and running a startup at the same time, what kind of challenges are you facing? Do you feel like your time is taxed, or do you feel like you're building a company that you want to eventually work for, or you're getting valuable experiences in a different realm? How are you finding the journey?
I personally love it. It is definitely, the time itself is very, very, you have to know how to manage your time or you kind of get screwed being a student and, a CEO because you are constantly, working full time for a company and you're like, well, you're trying to get something off the ground, but you're also a full-time student. You have papers to write, you have exams to do. And so it definitely was a challenge to begin with. But once you really get the hang of it of these are specific times I'm going to associate for studying. These are specific times I'm going to associate for what the company needs and balancing that time. Then it becomes less of a challenge. It definitely is a lot of obstacles, but it also provides you with a lot of opportunities to be a student as well. Not only in the funding world, but also in the world of professors, supervisors, and all the different types of help and resources that you're able to gain. I personally lucked out because I was at the University of Toronto with countless amount of resources and countless amount of professors who are doing tons of research. Which really helps me out in how I run the company and what I do. I probably would not be here today without the help of the various different professors that I've gotten help from, and that all came from being a student. And so my education definitely really helped drive my company forward, even though they are not really related. It is definitely in the realm of, well, I know I want to help people. And how can I do that in real life experience? So my degree is health studies, and that is to help people, right? It is to be able to understand healthcare and understand how, globally you can make the world a better place. And this pandemic, my degree came to life, and it was really nice to know the different ways to help people through what you're doing, which myself is the company. So I kind of integrate my education with the things I do on a regular basis and make sure that the way the company is run, its goals and values are also in place.
Yeah. So it's so interesting to see more and more students pursue startups or innovation, right? Like it's something becoming it's almost like starting a club on campus or doing something different, like more like activism. I feel like higher ed is going through this kind of pivotal change where like the main value isn't just your degree. The value of a degree is going down actually, right? A lot of major firms don't even actually look at if you have a university degree. And in this kind of process, universities are becoming more like giant incubators in themselves for ideas. They've always been, but now innovation is becoming more and more at the forefront of like, hey, how can we get these really smart individuals that all congregate in the same place, have access to all these facilities, come up with great ideas, but then also help commercialize it? How's the culture around innovation at UFT now? Because are more people coming into this? Are people coming to you be like, hey, how does it feel like to be a startup?
Well, I've definitely given tons of different presentations and have been a guest speaker on various different platforms. So, people are definitely starting to care more because, they're reaching out to people who already have companies to be able to inspire others to do the same. And so the culture is definitely shifted to, well, like we want to help companies and we're going to take a little bit of their company, yada, yada, yada. It's more now we want to drive students to, be motivated and passionate about what they want to do and the problems they want to solve. And, at U of T, we have over like 7 incubators, and each of these incubators are incredible. And the amount of help and support that they provide, the office spaces, the mentors, supervisors, legals, it's absolutely astonishing how much a university is putting in for students to be able to really accomplish what they want to accomplish and, drive their ideas forward and not walk out of university with, just a degree, but rather a degree and an incredible experience of their chosen problem to solve. And so I personally thrive in this very specific environment because, people motivate each other constantly, and the community is growing, like you said, and it's huge. The amount of students who create their own startups and, are like, I'll bump into someone randomly on campus and I'll be like, oh, like, I don't know, like, what are you up to today? And like, they'll be like, yeah, I'm filing a patent today. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, you're not alone. Like there's tons of people who are doing what you're doing. There's tons of people who, are in the startup space because people have started to realize that, I personally value education and I will always, I put it at the front very much so because education is what really drives, certain things. And a lot of employers might not look at that, but the space itself is creating various different opportunities. And so, you walk away with a degree as well as a fabulous experience, which is great. And, a possible company that can be part of your future career and what you want to do and how you want to run your life, which is really high in value to me personally.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk a little about that experience because last year and a half, almost 2 years now, everything's been virtual because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
How has that shifted your university experience and running a startup and gathering ideas?
Well, the pandemic has been hard on everybody, I assume. And I definitely there's there's definitely struggles for small startups because funding opportunities and various different constraints that you have in terms of, well, now people wear masks, now people social distance, now is this technology going to be useful? People travel less. Is this technology going to be useful for this specific market? And so startup specifically, there's definitely struggles within that, which makes it hard, but the journey itself has not changed so much for our company. We still meet every day virtually. We have virtual offices now, so it's not that bad to, still be able to somehow interact with the resources that we're given. And like I said, the incubators, they come up with these amazing ideas on how to stay connected and how to really drive forward your ideas, even in a pandemic. I wish I could show you guys. It's so cool, the virtual office we have. Like, you can walk with your little mini person and sit down in the office and get to see other people's it's I don't know, it's as real as it gets, in a pandemic, it's as real as it gets. And so,
Are you talking about a virtual environment?
Virtual space. Yeah. It's like a virtual office. You walk to your little desk.
And who's running this?
This is there's tons of different programs that are like this, but the incubators introduce them. And they're like, well, this is good. It's a good thing to use. And so, that's definitely made some things better, and you're able to connect, you're able to still do the research that you want to do. Our company's really heavy research based. So at the beginning, when labs were closed because of COVID, nothing was going anywhere. We were doing tons of market research though, which was great, but it definitely constrained in some ways. But, right now everything, is running back up. The labs are good. Offices are opening back up soon. So it's going to be great now. But the pandemic was definitely tough to start with.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about this resourcing, because right now you're pre-product.
We're at prototyping, yes.
Prototyping. So let's talk about prototyping in this kind of space, because you're talking about hygiene, you're talking about health, you're talking about creating something that people are going to be chewing on, and ingesting. There's a lot of nuances to that, and making sure it's safe and making sure the right materials. How are you going about that?
Regulations. It's definitely, you have to do your due diligence to make sure what you're doing is safe. And because we're at the University of Toronto, we're very much so capable of doing that because of the resources that we're presented with. If I was to not be at a university doing this on my own, it definitely would be really hard, because I wouldn't have access to people who have done this 1,000 times. There's people on our advisory boards that have filed 60 patents, and it's they've gone through the process of regulations, they've gone through the process of understanding what a product does and how the government reacts to these products, and various different ways to navigate these legal systems. And so it becomes easy for us to understand the process and the research that we need to do. It gives us a pathway, and it's okay, today we need to do this, tomorrow we need to do this, in a month we need to figure this out. And in order to get these specific safety measures, in order to reach those. Mm-hmm. And so that's how, our company is run, right? We definitely plan ahead of exactly what needs to be done. Tons of research before the work is started. It's doing your research and doing all this tons of things, asking for funding, and then realizing, wait, I actually can't sell this. Yikes. Watching the types of claims that you can make, all these different things relate to the safety and the research of the product. And so, doing the due diligence and research beforehand is something that is incredibly important. As boring as it might be, it's incredibly important. And so, we were able to get through that and be prepared for what's to come.
Yeah. I mean, what's really really cool about the product and the space you're in is like 10 years ago this is something that only like P&G or like some massive firm who has resources would take on, because like the nuance of that would be so of an ingestible product would be so intense. But now here you are, like a student-led company taking on this enterprise and getting all the support and resources to do this. I mean, we're going through this radical change in like where somebody called it a renaissance, where like people are just creating, right? Like we talk about the creator economy. I believe like innovators are the ultimate creators because you're creating like exponential returning products, aka companies. But let's speak on that, right? Like, right, like so you as a student and thinking about your future, right, with the startup and running it. How do you think about your future now? Now that you're a company in place, you're going through these experiences. Do you feel like this is like okay a step, and then like if anything goes wrong, you're going to go get a job, or it's like no, I gotta keep driving this. I want to be an innovator. I want to be independent.
It's definitely been interesting for me personally. I've been on this journey for 4 years, so I can't give up. Like that's just not an option for me. Like I just can't do it. And like there's been times where I've wanted to. There's definitely been times where I'm like, man, having an office job is easy because someone tells you what to do. You go there at 9, you end at 5, you go home, and like you don't have to worry about it until the next day. Being an entrepreneur, I don't know if everyone experiences this. I definitely do. I like everywhere I go, everything I do, I'm constantly thinking about where my company's at, what it's doing. And like, I'll sit at a restaurant and I'll be like, oh my God, like Toothpods would be so good. Like, it's just like, it doesn't really leave your head, right? Because like you're an entrepreneur, you're building something by yourself on your own, and it's yours, right? It's no one else's and no one's responsibility but yours. And so it is definitely been a long, long journey. And I just can't give up. Like, I just have to see it go somewhere. It can't not go somewhere because it is not the kind of person who I wouldn't, leave it high and dry. I've had experiences where I've had to switch teams and I've had to, do it by myself. Like there's been times at my company where it was just me. And if anyone is a sole founder, they will understand how hard and difficult that is. So, wake up every morning and be like, okay, this is all on me now. You have to do due diligence and like a lot of stuff to drive a company forward, and you're doing it all by yourself. But, you get through it because you look at an end goal and you're like, this is what I want to accomplish. This is the goal I have. And this is the kind of change that I want to make in the world. Mm-hmm. And if you have that in mind, it will be much easier to keep going because you're imagining the kind of change and the difference you're going to make within the world and the impact it's going to have on hopefully millions of people. I specifically chose this, idea because I needed it and wanted it to impact anybody that it could. Everybody has teeth. Mm-hmm. Everybody has teeth. Mm-hmm. And so, like I said, the first problem I wanted to solve was poverty. And, that is a huge problem to solve. And it's not like you can just solve it. It's very, very complicated. Mm-hmm. And so this was something I was capable of, creating a change in, and this is why I probably will never give up until it's something and I'm able to, help as many people as I possibly can. And even if it's within oral hygiene, I'm not even in dentistry, but I somehow am capable of doing something in dentistry while being a student. Like you said, back 10 years ago, only P&G would like pick this project up, but it's astonishing how much resources is in Canada. And I'm personally not from Canada. I immigrated to Canada when I was 12. So it is definitely nice to see, different countries have different resources that allow you to do this kind of work and allow you to be the change that you want to be within the world. And it's really nice.
Yeah. I mean, like a few years ago, I spoke to an activist who just came back from a refugee camp, right, where one of the main problems is oral health, and she was actually sent there part of I think Crest, like the toothpaste company, they sent a whole bunch of volunteers to help with the hygiene problem. And, her little thing was going around teaching people how to, brush their teeth and take care of their teeth. And the question I asked was, well, these people are in a refugee camp. Like, what were they doing before? What was hygiene routines before? Did they have any indigenous or special, like, cultural way of taking care of their teeth and stuff? And she stopped and she had no answer. Like, she was there for weeks and never asked or tried to figure out what they're doing before that. And one of the core ideas that came out of that was like, you're going to these displaced peoples, but being sent by a massive company to go and, push a product and get them used to a new type of product. And it's like disaster capitalism, right? Where it's like, something has happened and a push has happened. And being an immigrant myself, there's these issues where like these big kind of companies are kind of faceless, right? They see opportunity out of tragedy. And, going back to, your wish about like solving poverty and helping people with hygiene, how do you see this as like a methodology to do that, like in the future?
Well, at the beginning, I didn't know how. I just knew that I needed to do whatever it takes to make something successful. So then it becomes, a method for people to use. And so when I started it, I was like, okay, I want to do this and send like Toothpods to third world countries where they don't have clean water, and this might be a great way for them to do that. Mm-hmm. And then I, grew. I was like 18 years old when I started this company. And so it is not realistic to do something like that unless you have funding and money. Mm-hmm. And I, my goal was to be able to create a successful company and encourage others to be able to help with that. So with every Toothpod, hopefully this will be the case with every like 5 Toothpods bought, one goes to, you send one to somebody who doesn't have clean water. And so it's a really creating a culture of let's help people around us. And not only that, I wanted to create a company and not a product. And the company itself would have that education sector where, you would go out into countries that don't actually have clean good oral hygiene, and you would, educate them on how to use their surroundings and the materials and ingredients they have that are natural, that are able to clean their teeth. And so it almost becomes, mission trips on how to educate people on how to do this by themselves on their own and, really take care of their oral hygiene, because people really do suffer from this, and it is not pretty. Yeah. And we might not see it because we live in Canada, or, it's just not visible to us, but it is not pretty. And so it is really important for me as a CEO and co-founder to do that down the line as soon as, I'm able to establish a market here and understand the product itself and how I can make it the best that it can be and send it out to various different countries and, create that culture, like I said.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of reminded of like Tom Shoes, right? Who's like start the trend of like social benefit causes or social benefit companies, where it's like every time you bought like a pair of Tom Shoes, like 2 or 3 were sent out to other nations. And that kind of like, brought like the company to the forefront, right? Being attached to the social cause made it more appealing to the client customer base, who wanted to just do more than just like, yeah, I want to have shoes, but having like a benefit behind it, that was really interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like you choose that over something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's one of the key differentiators of the company. Have you heard of like, what are they called? I'm blanking on this now, but like, I think it's getting popular in America, not so much here, but it's like, you can form a company as a social benefit company, a special type of incorporation, right? Like a B Corp. And I'm still trying to learn about the nuances of this, but part of that is like you're in your incorporation documents, you state the benefit that you're going to have, and due to that, you get some kind of tax benefits and things like that. So like this kind of like type of organizations are becoming more and more popular. But you spent the last 4 years developing the product and developing what the company's ethos and what it's going to be. What does launch look like? Because you're going up against like major brands who have distribution. Have you put in a thought about like how you're going to get your product out to the people?
Well, big companies don't really care about new products coming out unless they are making a dent in the market that they are selling in. Or maybe they do, but from my knowledge, unless you're making a dent in their market, it's not, a big deal to them. So hopefully we will be doing that. But, for launch specifically, it's definitely, there's always going to be someone who's going to do it, like there's always already someone who's doing it. Like if that's the mindset you kind of walk into, I don't know exactly what I would be able to accomplish at all, because I would look everywhere and be like, well, that exists. Well, that exists, well, there's someone else who's going to do it. But it's like, no, like, there is, but like, get it together, hustle, and do what you need to do for what you're passionate about. And so launch is going to be, we're going to launch the product. It's going to be launched to different distributions, with different distribution channels, and, working with different people, working with different partners, working with hopefully the bigger companies to make it a bigger product. I don't think they're all evil. I think there's good ones. I definitely think that it just depends on, what specific market that we're choosing and what that branding looks like and where that launch is going to be based on those things. So if we're launching, for campers, that's where we would be launching it to begin with, before mass distribution to everybody, because everybody has teeth, everybody can use this product. It's just who will put their money down on this and what problem does it solve most for specific personas.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I think big companies are becoming more open to the radical disruption possible with working with smaller firms. Like companies like Coke, for example, are opening up their distribution lines and partnering up with smaller firms, saying like, "Hey, you produce a product, we have the distribution. Let's partner up and produce this." And there are like these specialized incubators now forming, helping with this, like CPG brands like yourself. One we work with is Y Space out of York. And another, I think Canada's biggest one is Arlene Dickinson's from Dragon's Den. She has one in Calgary. I forget the name again. I'm blanking today. Yeah. But what they specifically do is work with CPG companies, and they partner up with like distribution chains, and they help with the distribution side. So a lot of these new companies are producing new drinks, new foods, new things, and then partnering up with bigger firms who take as a distribution. And I think it's a win-win for everybody, because now for a big company, you're not worrying about competing with big marketing budgets or trying to pay like Walmart $100K just to get shelving space. You're not radicalized anymore. You're not pushed aside anymore because of access. And big companies are opening up the supply chains. I think there's like a incubator food factory that opened up in Toronto. That where it's like you as an independent cook or chef can come in and make a product, and it's like a bakery. It used to be a former industrial bakery, but now it's like a bunch of small kitchens, and you will come and produce your products, and the entire organization will take your product and then create a product out of it and ship it out. Wow. And there's all these types of like these ways to like, I think the demands of consumption, like, we want new things all the time, and bigger firms have figured out that, if we can use the innovative capital of smaller firms who are coming with new things, and we pair up them, we can test different things in the product chain, and make that money, right?
That brand.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So, Vishar, man, this has been really great. You just did the lines layer pitch. I believe it's end of September. It's going to be the finalization of that competition.
Long to wait.
What's that?
It's so long to wait.
It's so long to wait.
Yeah, I think it's September 23rd.
September 23rd. Cool. So, I mean, I'm assuming you've been doing this for 4 years. Are you graduating soon? What's next for you? Are you going to take this company to the next level after graduation?
Actually, just yes. The answer is yes to that question. I'm not, like I said, I don't think I'm giving up anytime soon. I did not work all the way here to give up and leave it high and dry.
Of course.
Sometimes it's healthy to give up things, but we're not there. And, it's been a good ride and a good experience for me so far. Even the bad ones has been a good experience. And so hopefully when I graduate in a year, I will be, continuing this full time, get it somewhere and see where it goes. I definitely want to see tooth pods in lots of people's keychains and pockets. So I have that vision. I want to see it there, and until I see it, and until it reaches a mass population and it's helped enough people, which is going to be never. You can never help enough, And so, see where it goes after that.
I love the grit. Definitely ping us when the tooth pods are ready. I'd love to try it myself, and love to have you come back.
Buy a pack of tooth pods when they come out.
Absolutely. Perfect. Vishar, this has been great. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you for everyone who tuned in.
Thank you so much.